Allah has revealed as a means to rebel against the rulers. Can this be used as clear kufr? So again, in this issue of ruling other than by other than what Allah has revealed, this is one of their major doubts. And again, we have to go back to the tafsilat, the details and the classifications of the scholars, so that we have basira in this issue. And one of the best classifications that has been given is by the student of Shaykh Abdul Aziz bin Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, and one of his close companions, which is Abdul Aziz al-Rajihi, Shaykh Abdul Aziz al-Rajihi. And he was asked about the opinion and view of Shaykh Abdul Aziz bin Baz himself rahimahullah ta'ala, and likewise the saying of Al-Albani, and likewise the saying of Muhammad ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala. So this question was put to him, and the question was actually, is their view the saying of the Murji'ah? Meaning, are they Murji'ah because they don't make takfir of the ruler who rules by other than what Allah revealed? So the Shaykh, in his answer, he gives a very nice, comprehensive tafsil, detail to this issue. So he says that first of all, there are numerous situations. There are 4 or 5 situations. So he says the first situation is that if a person rules by other than what Allah has revealed, whilst believing that it does not suit the times. Okay. So, for example, he doesn't implement some of the hudud, he doesn't, implement some of the ahkam, whatever, and he says his reason is because, well, it's not really suitable for these times. He believes that it's not suitable for these times. The Shaykh says that this is the greatest of people in disbelief, when he does this with this underlying belief. Okay, so this is the first scenario. The second scenario is that he rules by other than what Allah has revealed, believing that he has a choice in the issue. In other words, he believes, well, I can judge by the Sharia, or I can judge by the secular laws. So in other words, he now believes he has a choice in that regard. And this is also disbelief. The third situation is that he rules by other than what Allah has revealed, and he believes it to be superior and better. Okay, and that he believes, he rules by the what Allah has revealed. He actually rules by the Sharia, and he believes it is better than the secular laws, but he believes it is permissible. Okay, so this is the third issue. He's ruling by the Sharia. He's ruling by the by the laws. He believes it is no doubt it is better than the secular laws, but he believes it is permissible in Islam to judge and rule by other than what Allah has revealed from the secular laws. So again, this is an issue and a matter of belief. So this is also disbelief, because he's declaring something which is haram to be something which is halal. And so this is like someone who says, that it's permissible to deal with usury. Permissible to deal with usury and things of that nature. So these 3 are very, very, very clear. Very, very clear. This is the first 3 situations. All of them come back down to a person's belief. Number 1, in the first situation, he believed that it doesn't suit the times. Number 2, he believes that he's got a choice in the issue. Number 3, he believes that although the Sharia law is better, it's permissible for him to rule by the secular laws. So all of this is actually very, very clear. Now the next situation is that he actually alters the Sharia, he changes the Sharia, he brings another law, but he does it from head to toe in every single issue in the religion. So he basically completely and entirely removes and replaces the entire deen. He's changed the whole deen. He brings an entire new deen with all its rules and everything else. The Shaykh says that this is what has been mentioned by Al-Hafiz Ibn Kathir and Shaykh Muhammad bin Ibrahim in his book Tahkim Al-Qawaneen. And he from head to toe he brings something else completely. And so he says, some of the scholars, they hold this view that this person is a disbeliever by this action of his. Notice here there's no consideration given to the actual what belief is he holding, but in this view held by some of those scholars, Ibn Kathir, Muhammad bin Ibrahim, that this person by his action, when he changes the entire religion from head to toe in everything, this person is a disbeliever. However, the Shaykh says there's another view, a fifth situation, which is where some of the scholars like Shaykh Abdul Aziz Ibn Baz and likewise Shaykh Muhammad bin Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, they held the view that even if this person, he brought another law, then this matter has to be explained to him. So we don't make takfir of him, it has to be explained, because this ruler could be ignorant. He could have a doubt with him. And as Ibn Uthaymeen explains, rahimahullah ta'ala, and others, that maybe there are evil advisors, there are people who are advising him, who are around him, and there are evil advisors who are misguiding him. So because of all of these different scenarios and circumstances, some of these scholars held that we do not make takfir of this ruler, rather he is to be advised and explained, and this issue taken in this manner. The Shaykh says that this scenario here that we're dealing with is in relation to changing the whole deen, right? So this is in all of the affairs of the state, right? As for when it is only partial, as in it's not in everything, when it's partial, so there's some secular laws and then there's some Islamic law, then the Shaykh says, then no. In this case, there's no takfir of this individual. And they say that it's necessary for the in the first scenario, when he changes everything, that the proof must be established upon him. The hujjah must be established upon him. And so then the Shaykh has asked the question, well, what do we say about those people who accuse these scholars of being murji'ah because they don't make takfir of the rulers on account of this issue? Then the Shaykh says, basically my advice to them is to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they should learn knowledge before they speak, and they should make tawbah to Allah. And then he mentions some ayat in this regard about speaking about Allah without knowledge. وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, that you say about Allah that which you have no knowledge. And so this brings us to the end of his statement. So from this, the point being that when we go back to the tafsil of all of the scholars, we find and we ask ourselves the question, if we look at these rulers in the Muslim lands, let's take for example Egypt, or let's take for example Algeria, and we ask the question, how did these secular laws, how did they come into these countries? And the answer is they came into these countries by way of colonialism. When the colonialists came, the English in Egypt and the French in Algeria, they came and they brought with them their law, their Sharia law, and they set up law courts. And so if we fast forward now 100, 200 years later, and we see that along comes a ruler, he inherits the power, and he inherits the power in a situation where that law that was brought in centuries earlier, he's having to deal with that situation in his country where these laws are already present, the institutions are already present, the structure is already present. How can you expect him, and how can you accuse him of him the one being who has made tabdeel of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when this is patently false, when this is clearly false? And this very point was made by Shaykh Muhammad bin Salih al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala in a question and answer session when he with the Algerians, with some Algerians who rang him, and they spoke to him over the phone, and he said to them, how long has this secular law been in your country? And they said, Ya Shaykh, about 150 years. Speaking here of the French, because the French were the ones who went into Algeria. So he says, okay, so it's been in your country for 150 years, how do you expect the ruler to change this? How do you the rulers just simply came to the rule after inheriting this particular the situation. So you see, when you see these people accusing the rulers of making tabdeel of the Sharia and changing all of this is from their jahl and from their ignorance, because they also do not understand the meaning of tabdeel. There is a difference between tabdeel and istibdal. We need to make a distinction between these two things. Tabdeel is to institute something new, a new law, and then ascribe it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make it from the religion. This is tabdeel. And this is what the innovators do. The innovators, They legislate a new belief or an act of worship and they ascribe it to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is tabdeel. But the rulers do not do this. They don't say, well, this law which I'm ruling by, which is the law from the French or whatever else, yes, and I'm going to ascribe it to the Sharia. No, they don't do this. So we make a distinction between tabdeel and istibdal. Istibdal means to replace one with another. So as the Shaykh mentioned, Shaykh Al-Rajihi, he said that there are some scholars who hold if someone makes complete istibdal, meaning he replaces everything with a new law, then some of the scholars hold that person to be that ruler to be a disbeliever, and some of the scholars hold he's not a disbeliever, but we have to explain matters to him and establish the hujjah upon him, because he may be deceived and wrongly directed by evil advisors. And some other scholars say no. Some scholars say that the hujjah has to be established. And as for partial replacement, partial istibdal, then the scholars say that then Shaykh Al-Raji says, no, we do not make takfir of him on account of this. And this is also the view of many other scholars like Shaykh Al-Albani, Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, Shaykh Ibn Baz, and it is found in the verdicts of some of the committee for the verdicts. You can find this tafsil and this clarification mentioned in some of the verdicts. So coming back to the question was that some people use this argument of ruling by other than what Allah has revealed. Then this is from the greatest of falsehoods. And when we go back to the explanations by the scholars, we find there is nothing for them. Rather, all we have is some of these innovators who bring a new understanding. The likes of Abu Basir, Mustafa Halima, this man from Syria, At-Takfiri, and Abu Muhammad al-Maqdisi. These are all people who are not from the people of knowledge. And the other ones, Suleiman al-Ulwan. All of these people, they brought certain doubts, and they try to undermine these tafsilat and these details, and they try to apply that verse in Surah Al-Ma'idah, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. They try to make it absolute. There's no tafsil in this regard. So again, you can refer back to some of the websites where these verdicts are mentioned. You can go to takfiris.com. You can also go to the madkhalis.com, where the statements of Shaykh Al-Rajihi and others, where you can find them, and just understand the various tafsilat, the distinctions and classifications that the scholars have made.